I'll just say I'm an accountant because no one asks further questions.
I love accounting.
I love accounting. They're like, where do you work at? I go in an accounting firm.
Which one?
It's downtown.
That one.
It's downtown.
Exactly.
Oh, you wouldn't know it, but I type with numbers.
To all those accountants watching this, we very valuable business service.
Oh, incredibly. But so profesh.
You know, it's like we know what we're doing. It's almost like a production studio.
It's almost like you guys know what you're doing.
No, let's get, and then you can see, look at this.
Gorgeous.
Just
Is that good?
move it wherever you want it.
I don't know.
How are we doing? No, that's not ice. She's tapping on her cup. Wait, what? I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Oh no.
Mac and cheese? I love mac and cheese.
Close, but not quite.
Not quite.
Is this a BTS reference?
It's no.
Is this a K-pop reference?
You can
Maybe.
you can we can move on from that one. Mac and cheese.
Baked cheese.
Is this where I'm supposed to do this and be like, no?
You can. You definitely
I can do that.
You can. The green heart. So cute.
I don't even know. Okay, now I know. My brain just shut down.
I know, me too.
All right, so all right. I'm so excited tonight here on the Chaos Podcast, which is the name I guess it's staying with. Which, if you saw the first episodes, we've been going through it trying to find a good name.
That is
and now
true.
it's just we landed on. Hey, it's called Chaos.
I like it.
I mean, we have the sign up there. It says chaos. It kind of makes sense.
It's permanent.
I think that was their idea. They're like, hey, I got a brilliant idea. Why don't we just call it
the title.
Crazy. Why did I do that? All right. With that said, I have to, first off, I have the famous hot from LA off TV set. I've been trying to get this guest for more than a minute. And and she's like, oh, I'm really busy on this right now. I'm really busy. I'm like, there's a strike. Nobody's busy. Why are you so busy? And that's because when you're really that good, you're still that busy. So literally somebody flew in all the way from LA for me. I told you we're pulling in favors and friends. So through some connections, I said, hang on. And truth be told, it's actually my daughter's friend. So it's family friend. It's family friend. So I said, Jade, I need to get Lauren. Now I have with me Lauren Corry, like I said, from LA, who has who is actually in the union casting. As you can see up here, we will show you some incredible things that Lauren's done, but I think it's better to hear it from her. That's why she's here. Otherwise, I just put up a page and say, here you go. So with that said, before we jump into that, I'm going to make a toast, but I can't do that because, as you know, I'm going to do this. And this, as I always say, every guest gets their special cocktail. I have no idea what I'm drinking, everybody. This is a theme lately. It's like, will Vic drink it? Because we actually had Everline on, and she was like, I like pisco sours. I'm like, what? I had to call a friend of mine who's Brazilian. She came. She was at the bar. She's making for us. And I'm like, they're strong, by the way.
Oh, I bet. It sounds strong. Anything that has sour in it, like a whiskey sour.
Oh, no, these were good. They're good. And they're so deceptive because they're like delicious. And you're like, oh, these are good. Next thing you know, you're like,
That's what I think about this.
And now, what are we drinking?
We're drinking makgeolli. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a Korean sparkling rice wine. It's fermented, so it's a little probiotic-y. Little kombucha.
Gut health.
Listen, it's just, we're hydrating. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's just water.
It kind of like evens out the effects of alcohol, right? You're destroying your gut, but it's also like helping it. It's
sure. It works.
It's reboot. It's a reboot.
It's just water.
Detox.
Anytime I drink anything that's not a shot of like something that's pure like liquor, I'm like, it's water.
Yeah.
It's water. So
exactly.
With that, we'll all toast, and we are in Miami, so Jade can't partake yet because it does have, I think it's like 6%, so it's kind of like a beer.
Yeah, kinda. Well, cheers.
Cheers, Jade.
Cheers.
And thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I mean that. Thank you so much.
This is awesome.
I'm excited.
I can't wait. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Oh, you went. Oh, okay.
I shot it. I know.
Oh.
See? Because I'm ready to try. So that's so good.
I'm so glad you like it.
Okay, I'm a fan.
I'm a fan too. Yay. I know. I discovered it this year, genuinely.
Seriously?
Like, I've mainly been drinking like soju and tequila is my go-to, but makgeolli I had, and I was like, I love anything that's like a fermented. Like I love kimchi and I love kombucha and all that stuff. So
and K-pop.
And K-pop.
No, too soon.
No.
Sorry.
I mean, listen, I can talk about K-pop for hours. And
Don't
hours.
let us
Don't
get
let
going.
We're gonna keep this on the rails.
We have to. We have to be laser focused.
Right, exactly. You can hit them up both on their own Instagram and talk K-pop.
Absolutely, anytime. I'm always happy to talk about it.
Anytime.
So true.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. With that said,
yes.
So tell us how you got started.
Totally. And this is actually my favorite question to anyone in casting, because you don't study casting in school, right?
Yeah,
it's something that just you kind of fall into. And so like, that's why I love when people are like, how'd you get into casting? I'm like, every person in casting, their story is different. You fell into it. How'd you fall into it? Why? Mine was, my dad, I love my dad so much. We all know we're fans of John Corry. Shout out, John. He is a documentary producer. And so I grew up knowing a little bit about the entertainment industry and knowing I wanted to be involved. And as a theater girly growing up, I loved, dancing and singing, but I hated auditioning. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. It made me so anxious. And I always thought it'd be so much cooler to be on the other side of that audition process. So I've kind of mentioned that to my dad before. And when I believe I was your age, Jade. I think I was 18 or 19. And it was my freshman year, going into my freshman year of college. And my dad, who's a documentary producer, would always growing up be like, watch this documentary. And I'd be like pulling teeth to get me to watch a doc. I watched this documentary called Casting By. And I highly recommend everyone watch it because it's about she's a casting director. She was a casting director. Her name is Marian Doherty. And she was like the pioneer of casting. She was kind of like spearheaded the industry. She cast like Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate. Like she was like the she's like the OG. And I kind of loved that it was a woman spearheading the industry. And I was like, wait, that's so, and I remember watching that doc and like I said, it was pulling teeth getting to me watch a doc, my dad, and I fell in love. And I was like, how do I get involved in casting? And so that's kind of where it began. And my journey started in Chicago where I went to school. And at the time, a lot of shows were filming in Chicago. We had Empire, which was big and Empire was there. I had Taraji P. Henson and all that stuff. And then we had all the Chicago shows, Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med. I think there was a Chicago Justice, all of those.
All the Chicago.
I do actually, I remember that.
Yeah, all of them there at the time. So, I started off as a PA. I was a production assistant my sophomore year of college on Empire. And I was like, how do I get involved in casting? So I looked at, the crew sheet, who does the casting for the show. And it was Claire Simon, who actually worked on the same lot as where Empire, Chicago PD, where all of them are filmed. And ended up getting an internship with her. And that's kind of how it.
Just knock on the door.
Well, this is where my best advice to anyone is use any connection you have. Any connection you have. It's a friend of a friend. My math tutor in high school, his mom is Jeannie Backrack. Shout out Jeannie. She's a renowned casting director, Emmy-winning casting director. Actually, just got nominated for The Bear. She won for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She's an amazing person. So as soon as I knew I wanted to get into casting, I was like, how do I talk to Jeannie? Yeah. And I set up I was like, I'd love to, do a phone interview with you, or just a phone, what's the word I'm looking for? Informational interview.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that I was making the right decision, or like, this was the right career move for me. And she was just so wonderful and so awesome. And when I told her about the internship with Claire Simon, she wrote me a nice email and a nice referral, which was just so wonderful. And I ended up getting that internship and then became a casting assistant there my senior year of college. So like I was working while in college in casting.
That's so cool.
And so it was amazing. So I always tell Jeannie this. I say, if I ever win any award, you're the first person I'm thinking, always. And she's a wonderful, wonderful human and also a wonderful casting director.
That's so sweet. And then you went after that. That's so cool.
I did. Yeah.
Who is the first person I know? I did to get to them.
I went, well, because you're, kind of like actors, you're young and hungry and you want to get involved somehow. And I was in Chicago and I said, how do I get involved and how do I learn in this growing industry in this particular city? So very thankful to her and also very thankful to Claire Simon. And I learned a lot from all the associates there. I'm still dear friends with some of them. And so I learned a lot there. I remember my first audition that I sat in, I keep hitting this, I'm so sorry. My first audition that I sat in was for the Sense8. It was Sense8 on Netflix, and they were doing some Chicago casting for it. And that was the first time I ever sat in on like a proper audition, and I was just there to like call people in, but I got to sit there and watch. And I remember this one actress came in, I don't remember her name, but she was wonderful. And I just remember seeing her audition, and I was like, this is so
Aww.
like I'm seeing this happen in real life. Like it was such a aha moment for me. And so, yeah, I'm very grateful for those years in Chicago. I am. But yeah, then I came back out to LA, hometown right after I graduated, and immediately started with Rappaport Baldessari casting. And then that's kind of where I, grew, became an associate casting director, worked on all the DC shows there. So I worked on The Flash, Batwoman, Superman and Lois is like my baby, I call, because I worked on that pilot to end of season 1, or end of season 2. Oh no. It's
We'll
like,
have to go to your
we'll have to go to check my IMDb. I think I did pilot through season 1 of that show, and it was like something I'm very proud of. And so, yeah, I was able to grow there. I was there for a long time. And then you're freelance, right? We all know the freelance life. So I kind of bounced around, and I've been at different offices as an associate casting director, working on Nickelodeon shows and now shows for Paramount Plus. And so, I mean, it's been such a wonderful journey, a wild one, but always keeping me on my toes. So yeah, I love it. I don't know. That's like, I guess, like a little spark notes of my, history, where I got started.
That's cool that you did pilot through the first season, because usually a lot of the time, like, nobody, or at least from what I've seen, people in the pilot usually aren't cast in the, like, a few examples, like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but from what I've seen, like, people in the pilot aren't always in the actual
recast
show, which is kind of a cool thing to...
It is fascinating. I don't think I had to recast anybody.
Oh.
Wow.
No, not when I was there.
Okay.
So, no, I don't think I did. But it's so true that there are recastings, because pilots go through so much testing.
Yes.
So much testing to even first get greenlit in the first place, and then to make a pilot, or a season order. So yeah, recasts happen. And so many, like, I think Jenna Fisher talked about how she got recast on that, like on the sitcom. I think it was The Last Man Standing, maybe she got recast on it, but it was post The Office era for her.
Right.
And she talked about how she did the pilot and then got recast. Like, people of great, like, status get recast.
Yeah.
It's nothing to take personally. It's just
what fits and what doesn't.
Exactly.
Sometimes from a different standpoint, as a director, you'll be like, I like that character, but they're too close to I think we were talking about this, that the character is so important, hence casting, hence what you're doing. And obviously we'll get into that. And I think that sometimes you see characters that they may be an incredible actor, but it's just not... You're looking for more, whatever it's diversity, whether it's the skill set, whether it's just they look too much, they look like brothers or sisters, and you're like, I don't want that.
I tell actors all the time, I go, it can come down to the littlest thing. And almost always the best actor doesn't get the part, like, genuinely. I mean, it's so particular on what we're looking for in that specific character. And that process is like, you meet with the producers and the writers and the directors, and you have like a concept call of like, what are you looking for this specific character, right? At least in episodic, that's what we do, especially when you're going from episode to episode. You see new characters. What do you want for this? And then they sometimes give prototypes. Sometimes they don't. This is what we want. And then someone can come in the room and be completely different from what they discussed. And they're like, wait, actually, this is a different kind of thing of what we wanted. And then so it's so different. I've had moments where, I remember I was really rooting for someone for a role, and I was like, they're perfect for it. They're everything for it. Like exactly what they described is what, this person is. And then they weren't cast, and it's so sad to see, because if the casting director were in charge of actually making the final decision,
right,
everything you'd be seeing would be different. Like, not every, like, I mean, some parts here and there would be different, I think. Because it all comes down to we bring the cream of the crop to the producers. We read so many people, and then we bring the cream of the crop and say, here, we present them with these options that we've essentially fallen in love with.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of up to them. We just kind of like go with God, Genuinely, it's like that. Like, here you go. I hope you like it. You know, it's a very vulnerable thing. It is. But yeah, so it's very interesting, the whole process. It can come down to the littlest thing. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're getting into this.
Totally. Every time I do like workshops with actors, I always want to make actors feel comfortable. That's my biggest, like, honestly, like my mantra in casting.
You get the best performance that way.
Exactly. And so I always tell them, like, we're rooting for you. I think it's sometimes you're doing a very vulnerable thing when you go into an audition room. You're putting yourself out there. You're performing. You're showcasing yourself. And I, as a casting director or associate casting director or whatever I am in that room to you, I want to make you feel comfortable. And I want to make sure that you know that I'm also looking out for you. Like if you do one take and I don't ask you to do another, it's because you nailed that take. If I'm giving you direction, it's because I see that you could do something else, or maybe you gave me potential of something, or maybe I want to try something different. Like, you know, maybe you did something a little too flashy. I kind of want like have you to take it down. Like it's so particular and so unique to every person. But I always tell actors, we are rooting for you and we want you to succeed. That's why I'm asking you to retake or not take, you know? But yeah, I always tell it comes down to little things too. You can come in there and nail an audition, but know that when you come in there and showcase yourself and nail that audition, that sticks with us. That sticks with people in casting. For sure. 1000%. Yeah.
That's probably a very comforting thing to hear.
I hope it is.
Yeah.
Because it's a very vulnerable industry. And I just think that we can use a little bit more love in it. Just a little. From time to time.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, as someone who is, you know, acting and auditioning, like, do you ever feel really like vulnerable? Like, what is like, is there like anxiety going into like auditioning? I remember it from when I was little, but that was like back in the day, you know? So like really.
Last week.
You know? So like from your perspective, like when you walk into audition, what is like going through your head?
Obviously, it depends on the audition as well. Like my mindset audition to audition is always very different. Because if you're reading for a role and you have a script and it's something very deep versus just going in for an ad, it's like completely different feelings.
Totally.
But it's weird. I haven't felt that nervousness in a while because everything has been self-tapes.
Right.
So I haven't had that, but it can definitely throw you off sometimes when the people in the room who are casting who are like not very welcoming or
yeah.
So you saying that is very good to hear that there are people out there who care and who
totally. I mean, the company I keep, we do that. You know, like I can mention so many people that I've worked with that make it a warm room. I think that's important. And also too, if someone's not saying anything, it's not any, I don't think silence is bad. Like I think that that's just like everyone's different with how they process and how they process a performance. I've had one time a producer who was so silent and I was like, he hates everybody that we brought in for this producer session. He must hate them because he's so silent. And after he was like, oh, I love everybody, but specifically this person, I remember thinking he's gonna hate this part, like just based off of his, you know, his demeanor, his facial expressions. I was like, oh my god, I remember being so nervous about that session specifically. I think it was for The Flash, or maybe it was for Arrow. It was one of the CW shows, and no, he loved everybody. It's I want actors to know that if someone gives you maybe that, it's not because they hate you. If you go in there and maybe say something rude and are unprepared and have a bad attitude and you're late, then yeah, maybe. But I think of an audition as a job interview, right?
Yeah.
So.
Very true. You know, it's interesting you say that. It made me think of a second. I just had some flashbacks because because I've done thousands of self tapes for people. And what obviously Jade's saying is, you know, they've been at. I think when you're in the industry and you've been at it for a while, you. I wouldn't say get a thick skin, but you just kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
And you when somebody gives you direction, you know, even if it's, how do I say it? Curt, just very, you know, you don't take it personally. Oh, you need me to do. Yeah. But when you're newer in it, you're like, oh, I did it all wrong. And like you said, so it's interesting because you wouldn't be reading for the role if they didn't see something. And I've always said, and I'd love your opinion on it because I have sat on all sides of this,
Right.
but I'd say when you get a callback, that's a win. That's like almost like booking.
Huge
because
win.
That's like, everybody's like, I got a callback. I'm like, then you win. And they're like, but I didn't get the role. I go, there's a million reasons you might not get the role.
Yes.
And I understand that's the real win.
Yes.
But you got noticed. You got called back. And
Yes.
I could give you some very funny, all right, I guess that's what this is all about, right? So I'm allowed to call out my own family, right? I can't call out other people.
Call him out.
But he might turn us, he might shut all this off while we're doing it. Because because the one I'm calling him, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm scared.
my son, we're gonna go. This is way back.
Okay.
And I know I'm gonna mess it up, so I'm gonna ask. But we were camping in the. We have a baby dog. I just felt something on my leg. Hello. Do you want to be in the podcast?
Baby.
Hi,
Wait,
hi.
baby.
Wait.
Let him breathe. Let him do.
Yeah, little ASMR.
So back to my story of
Yes.
calling out people, right? I'm going to start with my son because this is like 10 years ago and we're camping somewhere in the middle of like, we have no cameras. We have nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, come on, iPhone it. And they wanted it like the ever famous thing that every actor hates is just improv something. Right?
Tell
I
us
know.
a little bit about yourself.
Right. She is a director and cast. You're like, yeah, I want to get to know you. And we're, but every actor's like, honey. I'm like, give me a
Luckily,
line.
at this point, I kind of have like a mental list of things that
Right.
I've sorted that are interesting
Right.
about me versus not so interesting. And
Right. And the one thing I
like-
always say is, please don't say, I love acting. I'm like, right, I
Obviously,
saw it in your eyes. You're
if
like,
you're doing
if
this, you
somebody
like
says, I
acting.
like, gee, really, I don't understand. Like, so, yeah.
It's just like, no, duh. you
No,
know?
it's really shocking. Huh, yeah, how about something
I
different?
hate acting.
Actually, I
wanna-
hate
my
it.
mom's making me do this.
So for those for those that don't know my son, you'll see him in one of the podcasts here. But I'm like, do something. What are you going to do? And he came to him and he's like, I'm going to sing. Was it Man's Not Hot? Oh, he's dying
wow,
right now.
Throwback. Yeah, this was like
I know, that's how long we're going back. We're like 10 years, huh? No, I thought it was before, but. No, because the reason it wasn't the TV show is because I'm about to. Anyway,
Okay.
whatever it was, but it was Man's Not Hot, right?
Yeah.
And if you know Luke, it was so funny when he
old
did
meme.
it.
Old meme.
And it was so funny. So I'm like, hey, we'll use it. And they're like, and I sent it in. That's it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He books the role.
Oh my God.
I bring him to set because he's 10 or whatever,
Right.
8, and we walk in and the whole production company, everybody was in the lobby, looks and goes, I loved your tape. They lit up and they were like high-fiving him and all that. And that's what I tell everybody. And like, you're seeing thousands of tapes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, just bring something. Don't be ridiculous where I can't connect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't be some weird character like that. I don't know who you really are.
Yeah.
But so when you guys are talking about it, makes me think about having the freedom to tape on your own and then not really leveraging it. Or anyway, it's just I'd love your thoughts on kind of. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a
Some
great
tapes
story.
that's
I have
why.
a great story because of like it goes back to a callback is a win, and like I said earlier too is. Casting directors remember you. Like if you come in and do a good audition and you remember, like we'll remember you. And that's our job is to remember names and to remember people. Like that's part of my job. This is why I have a very interesting memory with names. I can tell you everybody's name I've ever met and their birth chart probably. Their birth chart.
Wow.
But, I know. But like I remember you're a Leo, right?
Close.
You're a Leo, no?
I'm a few days away from it.
He's a cusp.
Oh, you're a
Cusp.
cusp.
That's why you remember that because it's a Cancer, Leo.
Oh, you're Cancer. Okay.
Right, 19th,
duh.
July 19th.
Okay.
You were
oh my God,
remember,
you're Cancer.
Yeah.
You're Cancer.
Okay.
That
Love
was
it.
a bad example. Trust her when
Anyways.
she says that.
I
We
know
went
that
through
she
a
knows
life
it all,
thing.
but
She
I
was
was-
like, this is
Totally
their sun,
Leo.
this is their rising, their moon.
I can tell you everybody's.
Okay, I was teasing. I'm a Leo.
I knew it. I
Okay,
knew
go on.
you were a Leo. Oh my
Okay,
God.
go ahead.
Anyways, I digress. Is everyone in casting should have that kind of memory. And so I was casting Superman and Lois at the time. So this was 2019. It was right before the pandemic. And we were casting the two sons, Superman's sons, who were brothers. And one of the brothers had to be kind of awkward and a little bit more like lanky, and the other one had to be like a little more anxious, and the other one had to be like the typical jock, like so kind of like polar opposites as brothers. and I had this kid come in, and I think he was maybe 16 or 17 at the time. And he came in for a pre-read, I believe, and he looked the part. Like, you know, he totally looked it. He had like the muscles, but he was also like 17. Like he was just kind of still a baby, and he was still green. His name's Chase Liefeld, and he like came in, and I was like, oh, typical jock, typical high school jock, whatever. And we called him back, I think twice for the role, and he was so good, but he was just too young. Like I remember thinking he's just too green, or he's almost there. He has so much potential though.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remembered him because I mean he was great. Then I cast Wolfpack this past year in 2022. That was like my entire life, all year of 2022 was another show I did pilot to complete of season 1. And they were looking for a role to be like a major recurring guest star for Wolfpack. And I told my casting director at the time, Jonathan Harris, who I adore, he's wonderful. I told him about Chase. I go, I don't know, you know, what this is, but if I think this guy Chase, it's been 3 years since I've seen him. I bet he's perfect for this now.
Right.
And
grew into the role,
and he was cast.
Nice.
And it's and I love seeing, I saw him at the premiere party, and Jonathan was like, Lauren was the one who put your, and you know, obviously it was a very collaborative thing. Like Jonathan looked at his stuff, and I was just like, I just remember really liking him 3 years ago, and he's perfect now. I think he'd be perfect now where he's at. And he was cast, and he's wonderful. He was so good, and he was so nice to like finally meet, you know, 3 years later. He's like, I remember reading with you for Superman and Lois. And
that's so cool.
like, so it's just like those stories, like that's something that makes me that's why it's a rewarding feeling.
That's so cool.
So it's so nice and to see actors grow. Mm-hmm. Like if you get a lot of no's, you might get a lot of yeses the next year. Like you may just need to fine tune a couple things, or to learn more about yourself, or to, you know, hone in on your craft. Really, it's really there's so many like factors that go into why someone gets cast, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite things to talk about is like, he was so good at that role. He could have been cast for that role. He was so good, but he just needed some fine tuning, and he was this role now.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. Yeah. It's
Cool.
very true.
Very
you hear the
interesting.
story.
So a callback is a win.
That's
the motto.
That you went back in your mental folder and was like,
always, especially for Wolfpack, because they wanted, it was a teen show. And I was like, well, right up my alley, which is like honestly my favorite shows to cast, is like kind of the coming of age, you know, like the Riverdales and the wolf packs of it all. Like this was it's a Teen Wolf spinoff. So,
okay. Fun.
So it starred Sarah Michelle Gellar, a queen. So that was really exciting. But like, you know, that was my my wheelhouse, I guess I'd say. Yeah,
that is so cool.
It was fun. It was very fun. But yeah. But tell me too. I want to know like what do you? Well, because I think we've come into such a self-tape world. So I guess I can open it to you guys. Is what are your pros and cons about self-tapes?
Ooh, go ahead, Jade. You start.
Start off. Pros and cons about self-tapes. I would say pros are the ability to be able to do multiple takes, see what you like better, you know, have different ways of doing it, have a whole kind of trial session with yourself, being able to do it out loud multiple times, potentially even get feedback on it before you submit, whatnot. And then the cons of it is, I believe I talked about this in another podcast as well, is you don't get that human connection in the room, because I am personable, and let's just kind of oopsies. But anytime I go into a casting room, you know, you turn it on and like you're super connected with the people, and you kind of make that bond, which can take you further in the whole process. So I miss the connection of being in a casting room. So that's kind of my
That makes sense.
Both are good and both are not so good.
Yes.
You really have to nail it on the first time, or else you can't be like, oh, can I do that again?
I know. I know. And because you also are always like, you know, directing self-tapes and giving.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'll follow up on what Jade was just saying, because it's, you know, I've had the fortune of having my kids who, you know, obviously they have the disadvantage of having their dad who's very blunt. And I'm very honest. I believe 100% because they're going to hear it outside. That's how when I grew up in the 80s in New York and the casting, it wasn't a pretty place. It was very cut. It was it's worse than people could imagine. And but it toughens you to the point where you're like, it's a job. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm bringing to the thing. Nancy Carson and Adler Nancy Carson was my agent. I know how's that for a minute. I love her. And anyway, so the moral of the story is I think the best thing you can do is be super honest. Now, that being said, let's switch into self-tapes. Before, somebody would come before you or me and we could coach them. Like you're saying, it's live. I could be like, no. The actual character is playing this, right? And we could help kind of see what the role's about. Now with self-tape, you have to guess because you may get 2 or 3 lines or you may get 3 or 4 pages and you have no idea what the casting director is looking for or what. And now I'm here, cancel me. You don't know what they're looking for visually. So everything has to go out. So actually, and this is a true story, my son actually read for Proud Mary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's like me reading for Black Panther. That's not going to work.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so,
I was like,
I know. That's why.
I kind of wrapped my head around that.
Right. So the reason I bring that up is they're just shoving out all these castings. The casting just goes out to every actor. And the agents are just like, let's just throw everybody at it. And then you as an actor get a role that you may, if I knew, I'd be like, I'm not going to read for this. I'm not going to waste my time. But you put hours into doing a really great tape and then it gets to you and you're like, no, that's not even. So there's so much
I forgot about that part. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much broken right now in the casting world.
That's so interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's like, so, and then I'm sitting here going, 90% of the time people call me up. I'm like, that's a commercial. That's a commercial for a chair. You don't come here. No offense. It's literally how you look is how you're going to book. We call it look and book. It's not your skill. If you can just do this, look at the chair, you got the job. It's not based on your actual acting abilities. It's based on how you look. Then,
like for commercially and
commercials.
That makes sense. You have to have like a form of like you still need to maybe be animated or whatever. Like,
right. They just have to make sure you don't show up and go, hi.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you pop. For sure.
That's exactly. You've got kind of some.
Right.
So that's why going back to the self-tape, I'm like, it's so destructive. In my opinion, because everybody needs to get in front of you and you need to be my advocate to take me to the director because I'm not going to look at 1,000 tapes. I trust you. You've cast all these famous TV shows to be like, actually, Vic, that blue goatee, he's perfect for playing the part of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. It's new. It's a remake, right? And so the reason I say that is, you're not seeing it because there's so the noise is so much now with all this ease of self-tape and the agents that the actors aren't putting in their best efforts.
Right.
And then you're not getting the quality. And then the director's like, so it's really a weird time we're in right now with self-tapes.
And I guess I have a different side of it. Like I have a different version of it, which is, obviously I love being in the room. Yeah. I love being in the room and I miss it so much.
That's the chemistry, like you said.
That's the chemistry, yeah. And it's also kind of like too, it's a vibe check. Like I get to kind of vibe check them too and see, would I put them on set? Would I be comfortable putting them on set?
Let's talk about what does that mean? Because there are a lot of people watching. You and I are talking. We're all talking up here.
Right.
I guess because we know, but
because and this goes back to even to what you were saying is like for a personal standpoint is an audition is a job interview. An audition is a job interview.
100%.
And that's just kind of what it is.
It literally is a job interview.
So I'm saying is with coming into audition and the vibe checking of it all is I always say, if you are prepared for an audition, if you come in prepared, you come in having done your due diligence, you come in dressed appropriately for that role, and you come in with a good attitude, then that's check for me. Mm-hmm. That is the vibe check. If you come in, I've had people come in who honestly still did a great take, but were rude to me, showed up late. I had them do one take because they're one take, they nailed it. And, they're like, but why can't I do a second take? And I'm like, unfortunately, this is my profession.
Yeah.
And I, like I said, I'm rooting for you. Yeah. You did that one take and I was like, wonderful. You nailed it. Great job. Good for you. And sometimes there is a one take and I go, I actually don't think you're going to be right for it. Like maybe I'll have them do it a second time anyways, just for, again, vibe checking. Can they pull this out? Maybe I'll give them a crazy direction. Can you go there? Yeah. And sometimes they do. So, that's the thing. But if you come in rude and you still do a great take, I'm still going to show you, but I'm also going to have that knowledge that you came in, you were rude to me as the associate casting director.
How are you going to treat others on set?
And I always want to be that. So that's one thing I think about with self-tapes, but it's not that I'm like judging. Like, obviously it's like my job is to technically judge, but it really is to just watch you showcase your talent and really just process it and see where that will fit in what they're looking for. So,
but you're right. Yeah. Going back to that point, I'll circle back for 2 seconds and move on.
Yeah.
It's not you. It's not the director. It's not the actor. And I'm going to get all the hate from the agents, but I'm not going to say they're lazy. I'm just going to say they may not know sometimes. So they just send out
there's
this
so much.
casting
I can
to
only imagine.
And they spam
so
it.
much.
And instead of really the old days of having a manager or somebody and be like, no, I know Jade's perfect for this part. And then they call you and you're like, and then she comes in and blows you away. You're like, oh, now I get it. Where I think that's completely like kind of that whole that layer is gone with the self-tape.
I think
that's hard.
Yeah. I think it's because I think I've said this to you guys before is the relationship between an agent manager and an actor is so foreign to me. I am on the opposite end of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I am so I don't really know what happens.
Right.
when I release a breakdown, all I know is that actors are being submitted and then I go through those thousands of submissions and then send out the self-tape requests. And I will be very honest, like for me and the people I've worked with, anyone I've worked with, we watch every single self-tape. I've watched every single self-tape that has been submitted. Because
I feel like I need to drink more or something stronger because of hearing that.
It's
good to know though.
Like I just because unless you submit past the deadline, then sorry.
That's your own fault.
That's your own fault. I'm sorry. But I watch the self-tapes that are submitted.
You heard it here. So, and I will say something. What's interesting is every actor, every time I do a self-tape for somebody, they say to me, go, can you get feedback? Or they email their agent. I'm like going, do you know how many thousands? The feedback is they watched it. Like
and sometimes too we get maybe like let's say there was like one time I was on a pilot and I think it was me and then I was an assistant at the time. I was the casting assistant and then my associate Amy, who's also my best friend, shout out Amy. She was the associate casting director at the time and I think had like 500 self-tapes to go through and we split them. But we have this like we've been working on that pilot together for already 7 weeks at the time. Like we get it. We know each other. Our views are aligned, and also we know this pilot. Like I could have given you the script. I could have verbatim recited that script to you, that pilot script to you. We knew it. It was like ingrained in our blood and in our bodies and our bones. And so like we of course, but like everything is still watched. Everything is still viewed. Maybe it's not viewed by the same person, whatever. And if I watch them, then Amy would watch them to check or vice versa. Like that's where collaboration comes in.
Absolutely. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think about it? Yeah, exactly.
And I love doing that because I always ask for a second, like when I was on Wolfpack, like Jonathan would send me like, hey, what do you think about them? And Allison Silverberg, who I also worked with, Jonathan Harris and Allison Silverberg, co-casting directors, we would all collaborate. And then my assistant Delaney would all of us on Wolfpack were looking at different tapes. And that's why the casting team is so important and who you surround yourself with and like all the views and really understanding the project, which all of us did. So it's self-tapes I can understand like how it can get congested perhaps. But from my standpoint, anytime I've called in an act, like I've sent a self-tape, it's because I wanted to see their self-tape. So maybe there could have been a little oopsies here and there, but I wanted to see their self-tapes,
Anyway, yes, I love it. And self-tapes are so important. And I love, I don't want to spend too much time in here, but I do go ahead.
Could I throw in a question? Yes. I just thought of it, silly, but you said the way you dress. How do you feel about people coming in like the character's costume or something like that, or like very committed to the dressing?
It depends, because here's the thing: I don't want actors having to spend money on like save your money, right? If it's a police officer role, you don't have to go and buy a police officer outfit. You don't have to do that. But
you can envision them in the role.
You can envision them, but don't come in like overalls.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, just come in dressed appropriately, right? You don't have to go and buy the costume. Like, that's what I mean by, like, if you can bring my dear friend and casting director, Amy Masterson, who I've already mentioned before, who was my associate casting director. Like, she trained me and then I became an associate. She says this, and I have to credit her. She says, when someone comes in and brings a whisper of the character, whether it's how they dress or how they perform, it's like you really want to bring yourself into an audition room. Like, that makes you stand out. If I get 10 people coming in dressed as police officers, obviously they're gonna be
That's
different.
true. You're all going for the same thing.
They're going for the same thing. But when someone comes in, like I said, prepared, like dressed appropriately, but they bring a whisper of the character, but really it's like their own unique take on, and it's more like, how would they do it personally, not how you think I want it. How would you do this take? So I love what Amy says. You want a whisper of a character.
Yeah,
I've always loved that, and I kind of stand by that too. I 1000% stand by that.
I think that's great, and you made me think of something too, and because this is actually great because bringing up questions. I've had people come in who self-taped, who have, let me back it up.
Yeah.
I've had people come in who've wanted to self-tape and they're not off book.
Okay.
Now, being off book is you don't have your lines memorized.
Okay.
I have a huge challenge with that.
Okay.
Because I'm like, you don't know the character. You're just line reading.
Right.
And how do you feel about that in today's world, or self-tapes and all that?
Great question. There's a difference between line reading and maybe knowing 80% of the material. I'm okay with knowing 80%. But you can cheat it in a self-tape. And also, when I would pre-read people, mainly they would come in for an audition and I would see if I wanted to call them back. If they're like, I'm not completely, I'm like, as long as you're 80% there.
There you go.
That means you understand the character. Maybe you don't know the one line, you get a couple words,
and the
fix up.
ands.
As long as you're staying in it, I'm cool with it because we can cheat it.
There you go.
It doesn't, if you are line reading, it's not going to work.
And you can see it in 2 seconds.
You can see it in 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
And so that's why I say be prepared, right? So it's coming in, knowing the material, knowing the character. But if you're like tripping up on the line is maybe that's so funny, or funny that you say that, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Whatever.
You're good with that.
You're in it. I'm good with it personally because I know that you're in it. Like, you're staying in character. If you are like this and then you like cheat it and look down just to get that one line that you want to make sure you get, you can cheat that. But also, and I also too, it's because especially during pilot season, I mean, actors are getting bombarded.
Yeah.
Bombarded with self-tape. So I'm more of those, I know, like I said, it's a job interview and you want to be prepared, but I also don't want actors to like not get any sleep. I don't know. I
no, right.
Maybe that's because
you're a very nice person as well.
I'm an empathetic person.
You're very nice. You're very nice.
But it's true. I have a lot of empathy for having to memorize that much and having only so much time and so much context. So, but line reading, it's not going to work. It's frankly, this is me being
yeah, come on.
It's a waste of my time.
Yes.
It's a waste of my time.
That's how I feel as well. You're going to make me spend my time to record you, give you some direction. We're going to submit the thing, upload it, going to make you watch it. It's going to go to the agent, then you.
Right.
Everybody's doing this, and you can't spend a few minutes, or you can't come.
And we're talking pre-COVID times, like when someone would come in. I've even said to them, just send me a self-tape. Like, go home, send me a self-tape. Like, I'd rather that than you come in and line read for me. So obviously nowadays you have self-tapes. You shouldn't be line reading in self-tapes.
I'm just trying to think. There was something on. There's something, if you think of a jump on. I just saw somebody, and I want to say it was James Cameron was doing a movie, and I'm messing up the name, but an A-list actor, and they're like, no, James Cameron's like, no, you need to read for this. They're like, what? Like, no, you have to read. I want to see you read for this role. So I think it does get to directors where they're like, some directors are like, no, I know you're perfect for the part. And then, so I don't know if there's an absolute, it's this way, but I think you can, if you're serious about acting, if you're serious about doing this, this is a lifetime in business. This is not, you know,
There's really no age requirement or
Right.
limit or maximum or.
And so if you don't start professionally, and that's one of the things, and I don't know if on your end, but I think it is, with most of the casting networks, Actors Access, wherever you're uploading, when I get to see it, I get to see everything else you've submitted for.
Oh.
Yeah, on the back end login. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that it's like somebody will just do post them and you can go back and look and see. So there's a lot.
Oh, I can see that on I use primarily like Breakdown Express, EcoCast, Cast It was big before then too. But I can like search their name and see everything.
All the different stuff. Yeah. So I'm always telling everybody, I'm like, you're putting stuff out there. And if it's between you and somebody else, and I search.
It's honestly so much fun to sometimes see their growth or see like CW too, like CW, like we cast.
All right,
so
tell
many
us about the CW. Come on, tell us about the CW. Jump in.
It's just like the Flash and Batwoman and like all these DC comic shows. They had different villains almost every episode, which was so fun. Crazy lines, like crazy dialogue, and it was so fun. But like I had like you could have someone come in for like the craziest villain ever, and then the office I worked at the time, did You on Netflix, which is a very different than a DC comic show. Yeah. And then they would come in for that and you could like see those two tapes. I mean, I wish I could show the actor and be like, look how cool you are. You did this crazy villain who had to do like a bunch of, like probably movement to a very like dark drama. I mean, it's very cool. So like cool. It's almost like seeing their real.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're like,
it's like
show me your range.
Show me your range. Well, and because I've worked on so many different kind of shows, it's fun seeing actors come in. I'm like, and they, like I said, they came in, they were great. They weren't good for that role, but they can come in for a different show and be perfect for it. It happens all the time. It really does. I even think about Carmen Cuba, who is this Stranger Things casting director. She's amazing.
She's great. Yep.
And when she got the pilot, I think she interviewed and she said that James Harbour? Why am I blanking on his name now?
David
Harbour, not James Harbour.
You said James Cameron.
You knew it, of course.
I am the worst with actors' names.
I just told you I was so good at names.
You've read for that.
I did do, yeah.
No, David Harbour. Carmen like immediately thought of David Harbour for that role. Like immediately, she told them that. Like I just love like there's. Like, you come in, whatever, and he was already pretty established, but like not A-list. And he came in and then, obviously he's amazing. Oh, he's incredible.
He's an awesome
He could read the phone book and I'd be like, cool.
There's
amazing.
They just know how to bring something and energy and connect. It's just, I've been blessed to see it and been around it. That's what fuels me to stay in this industry.
Yeah, I agreed.
Watching people act. I just get so excited sometimes when it's a great, like you're like, is this going to be good? And it's great. And you're like, yes, it's so.
There's been so many times when I'm in the room and like, you just know someone just is going to get the part. Like they nail it. Like I have body chills thinking about certain moments, but like.
Some favorites, some thoughts?
Yes, I have one. I have one actually to think of. I think about this one a lot. And I think I was assisting at the time. I wasn't even, or maybe I was an associate and I was just in the room, but this was for a different show that I wasn't working on it, but I was maybe running camera, I think. And it was for Supergirl. And the role was, they were casting the first transgender superhero. Pretty amazing. But we had a small pool. We had a very small pool of actors. And I'm hoping now that it's I was going to say,
because that's a few years ago,
This is 2019 perhaps.
We could slide up and see when.
I think it was 2019 when we were casting this role specifically, I believe.
Okay.
And I think I was just in the room for it, and we had a really hard time finding this role. We wanted and it was and we ended up bringing in Nicole Maines, who I believe was really young. She's probably 18 or 19 maybe. I don't know. She was young, but really she'd only done like one kind of like indie horror film or something.
Really?
Transgender actress, like new to the game, new to the scene. And she came in, she flew in from the East Coast. I believe she's from Maine. Maybe that's where the last name comes or something. But she came in and it was just someone who was still green, still new, but so like striking. Like the scene, I have body chills thinking about like no one had come in and really done it it felt poised. It felt poised. And I remember being like, I wanted to cry because I was like, this is what this is where the magic comes from. When someone comes in and you've been just like please, like we've been cast this role all summer.
Oh, those are
You are the light at the end of the tunnel.
And you just think that there's no light. And then she came in and I was like, wow, the light. And it was so wonderful to see someone who was so new and so green and so fresh nail it. And that's what I say. She was that role. She was 100% that role. So, goosebumps time. Like it's
so fun.
Yeah.
And then she was the first transgender superhero.
That's
ever.
really cool.
It was so cool.
That is so
really
cool.
It was
I love
amazing.
it.
I got goosies. Goosies, thank you.
Yay! And
Yeah.
you were there at that moment.
I was there in that moment. I was in the room. I don't think I was even working on the project, but I was running camera.
You're like, this is
so I was
great.
like, and I was, thank God I was. Thank God I was. I got to see that.
But it's funny too, that's a good thing maybe to share is I've seen some castings and I will mention them by name because this thing went on for years. I would see tons of kids
I
come.
already know it.
Let's see if they Luke, do you want to call it out from back there?
We shouldn't. I don't want to name drop either. I don't know. If
Troop Zero.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah. I auditioned every single role. Probably even one of the
They kept-
boys'
and they
roles
kept
at one
asking.
point.
They were like, they keep
That thing
submitting
went-
and we're
Where did
like,
it film?
Like 2 years.
Oh, easily
3
2 years because I had
years.
other kids coming in and I'm like, not this thing again.
Where did
and
it film?
It's
I
on
don't
Amazon
know.
somewhere. I don't know. Somebody,
No
you
idea.
guys can
Could
look
not
it up.
tell you.
But
Oh
let
my
me tell you,
gosh.
that thing made the rounds and it made the rounds and it kept making the rounds. And I'm like, what are they looking for?
Oh my gosh.
At least
At
2
least?
years,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And
What
I mean,
are they
like,
looking
after a while,
for?
we're just like, no. Like we've read
Wait,
for
like
this 3
different
times.
roles
Yeah.
for the same
Different roles for the same
show.
project.
Wow.
Just
But
kept going,
everybody,
like, what-
everybody we know
Wow.
was reading for it. It
Oh yeah,
was-
people would call me up. I'm like, don't even waste. Don't forget it. I'm not even going to submit. Like,
Wow.
and that's
Was it-
actually
was-
funny because that shows how you
Yeah.
can wear out the people because people wouldn't even want to bother with
Oh my
it. Because they
gosh.
did a lot of times after that much time, we thought it was a fake project.
Did it
Like,
did it
we're
film
like,
in
this is
Miami?
never-
I'm curious.
I don't think so.
No?
Okay.
Okay. Well, you guys.
Because if it did, that
Go
would
ahead.
make a little more sense. But if it didn't, interesting. But I mean,
I know. I'm like
every
now.
role-
People are gonna start.
like every role.
I'm not
comment
kidding
below.
you.
Wow.
It was like a main cast of probably like 6.
Okay.
I auditioned for, I believe, all 3 girls. He auditioned for all the boys.
Yeah.
Like it was everybody was auditioning.
It came out
It
in
was-
2019,
I
and
wonder if it filmed in Miami.
I don't know.
But
McKenna Grace, Jim.
Oh,
Oh,
McKenna
Jim
Grace.
Gaffigan was in it.
Oh, okay.
So maybe they had to wait to get like Gaffigan to sign on or something. But yeah, I mean, it's anyway.
yeah.
I'm just sharing with like it's funny because when
I
it came out, I'm like,
know.
oh, they got Jim Gaffigan. Oh, it's legit. But for years, I went. This is one of these projects,
Right.
Because we see them all the time come
Right.
across, and it's like this isn't a real project.
Yeah.
Like it's. Just
I mean,
some-
I think about it's hard because from like my perspective on it is when again I didn't like I wasn't the associate casting director on this project. I was casting assistant at the time. And it was The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. And casting that pilot,
Yeah.
I think we saw every girl in the world for Sabrina, and we saw every boy in the world for Harvey. I mean,
now, when you say that, just for everybody to shock everybody, how many people?
I think the list
It's got to be. I'm not
single
gonna say.
spaced, the list that we had like was 22 pages long,
There you go.
single
Wow.
spaced. I remember having to print those lists out, like our
That's-
master list.
And right.
It was 22 pages long, single spaced.
Yeah.
Not like 12 point times
No,
New
no, no,
Roman. Like we're
right.
talking like,
like yeah.
yeah. So
We're in the thousands.
easily.
that's what-
I would for Wolfpack. I think for the 4 leads, I think I saw 2,000 at least for each role, perhaps, or 1,000 maybe for each, like in the thousands or in the hundreds,
Wow.
or maybe requested over 1,000 tapes for each,
Yeah.
and got
So
around.
that's when people are submitting and like, I didn't get anything. I'm like, yeah,
You listen when a breakdown is released, right? I give it my rule, and usually I think I mean this is my opinion. I wait 24 hours until I go through submissions. I wait 24 hours. I let them all come in, and usually for a pilot like the Wolfpack pilot, which was a really exciting one because it was already greenlit, so everyone wanted to be on it. It wasn't just a pilot; it was a pilot with a pickup.
right.
And I think I had over 2,000 submissions, or 3,000 maybe for
In like
each role.
24 hours.
24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a lot. I'm talking like a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like maybe over 48 hours, but within it was a lot. And we go through all those submissions. It sometimes is 16 pages worth of submissions.
I got a great question. I don't know if anybody's really ever thought of this. Do you think there's a value if you release a submission, if there's a casting that comes out and like 2 or 3 days, you release it on a Monday and it says Friday due date. Do you believe that there's any value to having it in on Tuesday versus Friday? Or is it just do your best?
Do your best.
Do your best. It doesn't.
We are watching them. You honestly probably. I'm not. It depends on how busy I am. I might not be watching as we go. Right. I might be setting that up so that as soon as the deadline is there,
Saturday or Sunday.
That's my little Sunday scary job. Is all So
in the jammies, click,
or maybe if I know I need to like watch as I go. If it's like long scenes, maybe I'll watch as I go.
Right.
But there's no difference. Just get it in before it's
quality over speed.
Correct. Quality over speed.
I've heard some people like, no, you got to get it in first thing. I'm like, no.
I mean, if you can, great.
Right.
Good for you. But just, and you know what though? I always like, if someone's like, let me know ahead of time if you can't make it in by that deadline, right? If I give you a Friday at 12 p.m. and they're like, I can't get it to you until Monday morning, just let me know. And if I have time, I'll say, yes, I'll allow it. But as I have people that after Friday, wait, my client was so busy. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, okay, it's just like, I don't want to, because then I feel like I have to do that for everybody. And we always say at least for me, I say on every breakdown or self-tape audition, do not submit late tapes, because we have a system and I think there's, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like a ripple effect?
Yeah, it's more of like, I think that there's an idea of what casting directors do. We are constantly doing something. Like we are making the master list, we are sending out self-tapes, we're going through submissions, we're setting up Zoom callbacks, we're having Zoom callbacks, we're having meetings we're having production meetings, we're talking to SAG about rates that are going up. There's so much. We're reading actors, we're meeting with actors. There's so much. And also keeping things really organized and creating links and making sure everything's nice for producers and stuff. There's so much always going on that I think that sometimes isn't understood. Like, oh, you're just watching tapes and then sending them off. I'm like, no, I am doing much more than that. And with good reason. I like to make things organized and pretty, but also I want to make sure that I'm staying in line, especially with a pilot. So I always like to give the benefit of the doubt if someone's late with the tape, and that's fine. But just let me know. I always want you to give your best take.
Right.
So if you need an extra day for it, totally. Just let me know.
Hit me up.
Call me.
Yeah. DM me.
Slide
it's fine. And I'm always like, yeah, no problem. It's all good.
I'm gonna circle back.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Did you? Okay, I thought Jade was. I'm cutting off my daughter. I want to go back because you made me think about submissions and asking for stuff a day, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's one, and I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to phrase this properly, but I want to talk about a term that I like to call set etiquette.
Oh,
and I think it goes all across the industry.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you want to know who you're working with, and if they are a pain or this, I also think that there's an experience with people that are new in the industry. And like you said, you remembered somebody from years ago and called them for a role. I'm always telling everybody, because I think I'm not going to say it's an exuberance or just maybe not a self-awareness, that they're just like too pushy, too, oh my gosh, I have to be, or like, you can almost, I think the expression in the social media term or in influencer space is clout chasing, right? Clout chasing. And I think
look at you keeping up.
Yeah, I'm an
You are.
Around us all the time. He hears it.
I know.
Exactly.
You're so
all
good.
My social media people.
You might say something. You might say something, and I might be like, "Huh?" Like genuinely.
What did he say? Yeah, exactly. Identify as no. Forget it. Exactly. But no, the reason I'm saying set etiquette and this there's a general vibe, and I've actually seen it because, and I'll call myself out. I was having dinner with Eric Roberts, the kids, family, friends. And I brought a friend in who was new to the industry, who was kind of mentoring with me. He knows who he is. He's going to shoot me for saying it. But he immediately starts talking to Eric. He's like, can I get, I'm like, bro. Like, I had to look at him and be like, chill out. And Eric looked like, who's your friend? And I'm like, sorry, he's just like, so I come back to that to say it's like half the time where I'm at an event or something, I'm not like, oh yeah, I'll do your like they find out what you do and you almost have to be like, oh God, like, because everybody's so excited to get in or understand. I'm like, this isn't a business. You just walk. I mean, yes, very rarely it happens, but this is a long marathon. It's not just I walked in and look at me go.
Right. No, you can't just be like, hi, nice to meet you. Like, book me, like, put me on something, like, write me in a script. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you can almost, and I would say you could do more damage because you get a reputation really fast as being too aggressive, too pushy, too clout chasing, and then people back way off.
Right.
Just like, so what's your thoughts in the industry?
I have two sides of it. Is like the one side is maybe the more I'm understanding to a fault. And I know that's about
exceptionally a sweet person.
Oh, that's very nice.
Because we know you, and
that's nice. But like I said, like actors and everyone were young and hungry. Like me calling Jeannie Backrack, me emailing Jeannie Backrack when I was 19, saying, "Hey, I know that we've met a few times because your son tutored me in math."
That's so cute, though.
That's great.
So like I understand like the wanting so badly, and not every day is where like maybe I'll be at a restaurant or like a bar or something and talking to someone who it's not every day that they get to be in contact with someone in the industry. And so like I might shake them in their boots a little bit. And so I can understand maybe like them.
You are very intimidating.
I understand.
I shake in my boots.
Well, more not like shaking their boot, and more like, shoot, this is my opportunity. This is my chance to tell them about my craft, right? So I always take it with a grain of salt. But then there's the other side of me that like I think I've told you this before. I lie about my occupation sometimes when I'm in different social settings. I'll just say I'm an accountant. Because no one asks further questions.
I love accounting.
I love accounting. They're like, where do you work at? I go in an accounting firm.
Which one?
It's downtown.
That one.
It's downtown. Exactly. Oh, you wouldn't know it. But I type with numbers.
To all those accountants watching this, we very valuable business service. Oh,
incredibly. But I am not an accountant.
Surprise.
Yes. Oh my God. But like, no one asks you.
Everybody who's watching this and sees you goes, she's not an accountant.
I know. I'm so sorry. But I have had my friends also say that stuff too. Like I remember my friend one time told someone that she worked at a morgue. Because it stops them in their tracks, and then
they're like done with the questions.
Like it's sometimes like you just don't want to be
right.
And it's more of like I always want to, and I every workshop I've done with actors, I always say like, if I've worked with them in the workshop or I've seen them in the room a couple times and we've seen each other outside of space, obviously like I'm friends with a lot of actors. And if I've always told people too, like, I think I've even said this to you and to Luke, like if you guys ever have self-tapes and you want me to take a look at them and give you notes, I love doing that. I love doing that. But I can't do that for everybody. And so I have to be aware of that.
Right. So now that you said that, everybody's going to find your.
I know. But anyway,
you're going to get like thousands of. What do you think about? What do you think?
And it goes to like obviously, if I have more time, I love to like be able to do it, but I can't do it for everybody. And so I think, if it's hard. It is hard because you want to be nice.
So broken up about this,
because it's sad. It is sad. It's a sad. Like I don't want it. Like everyone just wants their big break.
This is it. Do not start sending all of your.
But everyone just wants their big break, and I get that. But also, you have to go about it respectfully and professionally. You have to. That is the industry, and that's in every industry. You have to be professional. So there's a difference between, I think, clout chasing and being professional. And
it's the same thing as a job. Going back to the job interview, you're not going to go up to like somebody at a corporate company and be like, "Can you give me a raise? Can I get a higher up position?" Like you don't just.
It's a good point. It's a great point.
You gotta earn it.
You gotta earn it, and so yeah, I'm always all ears for any like I always love to give advice and give notes and stuff like that. It brings me a lot of joy. It does, but there is professionalism, and there's a line that cannot be crossed. Like that line cannot be blurred. So.
Favorite part about casting and least favorite part?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Favorite part about casting is probably seeing the end result of a project that you've done. Like Wolfpack, I like put my blood, sweat, and tears into that project. I was
Reference.
oh my god, that was the armies will understand. But I put my blood, sweat, and tears into that project.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry
Continue.
about it. But and
It's
seeing
happening right
and
here. I
seeing
knew it would
the
eventually come out.
going to the premiere of Wolfpack, like and seeing it was so awesome. That's my favorite part about it, and being able to see the actors who I cast, or excuse me, we all cast, not I.
Well,
so we,
yeah.
but I was a part of it.
Right.
Seeing that was just so rewarding, and yeah, those four series regulars, it was Armani and it was Tyler and it was Chloe and it was Bella, and they were all just so wonderful. And people, I think two out of the four of them I'd already read before for other things too. So that was really cool. And 2 new faces, love to see it. So, I mean, that was really cool. That's my favorite part, 100%. Seeing the end result, seeing your hard work pay off, actually. And then least favorite part, it's hard. It's hard because I mean, every job, like there's no perfect job in this world, right? Like
Yeah.
you could say I'm doing you're doing your dream job. You don't
But
work a
there's still-
day,
yeah.
but there's still work. And I think it's maybe, and this maybe just comes from a place of like love and, you know, people wanting to be creatives and, having to say no, having to either make people's dreams come true, which like I said, that's my favorite part. And then also having to be on the other side that says, no, you're not right for this.
Right.
It is hard because it's not everyone gets told so many no's, like
Right.
so many no's. So that is always difficult, I think, but it's more so is it's like, it's discouraged. I don't ever want actors to feel discouraged, but I guess also too, another like least favorite part is, paperwork.
Babe.
That's my like actual real answer too is paperwork.
Paperwork.
Doing contracts.
Yeah.
Speaking of
I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not
I'm an
gonna
accountant.
I'm not doing contracts. Sometimes I'm like, I am not a lawyer, but I also, it's fine.
You
Like,
seem to
that's-
really genuinely love it too. Like just by like watching you talk about it, you can tell you really enjoy.
paperwork. I'm joking.
Yeah, exactly. Of course.
love being an accountant.
I love being an accountant. No, I do. I do love it. I do love it a lot. And it's been really sad because I've obviously this year has been very like weak in scripted
Oh yeah.
because of the strikes and everything. And so obviously we're all in solidarity with, you know, WGA and SAG. So I think it's going to be nice when hopefully those things get wrapped up soon so we can all jump back into the creative mindset. But in the meantime, I've been doing unscripted casting, which has been delightful. And I kind of fell into that accidentally. Like how I say, everyone in casting, you fall into it. But I was, after Wolfpack wrapped, it was the holidays and so nothing was really happening. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe until pilot season starts up, and this is pre-strike. This is like 2 months before the strike. I was like, why don't I just try something new just for fun? Just for fun giggles.
Just for the heck
Just
of
for the
it.
heck of it. I'm always down to try something new. I think as a casting professional, it's really good to absorb like a sponge anything you can, have all that knowledge. So I went into unscripted and reality casting this year and loved it. It's been so fun. And now I've been able to be a casting producer and then transitioned to set as a contestant producer. So I've had more, like I've been able to cast, you know, real people. You know?
I think we even have a picture of you.
Oh my God, do we?
I think so.
I have one. I
You're in
like. I don't
trouble.
have any pictures of me. Oh, there I am.
Look, there she is.
That's on Split Second, which is a game show network show
Look
hosted
at
by
her all
John Michael Higgins.
Oh,
It's the
my
only
goodness.
picture I have, like genuinely, because like I said, I was. You were like, "Do you have any pictures?" You gotta go. No,
I know you've had it right. You're like,
I'm not the one being filmed.
Right.
You know, I'm the one filming you or watching you. Or
but set life is so fun.
it is
Being
It's-
on set is magical.
It is, especially when you have a great group around you. And I've had some wonderful gals around me. So I can't complain. Gals and gentlemen, excuse me.
Gals.
But I have a great, like, it's been so, again, that's rewarding is being on another side of the casting industry. And it's the the casting producing, being a casting producer is just like, it's kind of similar to scripted is you like there for the show specifically that I worked on for Split Second is it was a trivia show. So I need people who were good at trivia. People don't like watch game shows to watch you be miserable, right? You watch game shows to watch you be excited. So I need someone who was money. Good energy, but really good at trivia. And so I'm zooming, 10, 15 people a day, having them do some trivia quizzes, but also getting to know them. And that's also my favorite part is I can't shut up, obviously. This is why I'm here.
I have to say, yes. Trivia Zoom them?
Zoom.
I would quiz them on trivia first, do a little gameplay. On Zoom.
That must have been so fun.
So much fun. And so that's why Unscripted's been kind of just like this light thing in this dark shadow that has been the strikes. So I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful to be working. But it was so fun. Like doing the trivia. And then if they got a decent score, I would interview them. And I would interview them even if they didn't pass, but I wouldn't tell them that they didn't pass. Secrets. But
you would watch
I would be a little bit more in depth with their interview if they did pass.
Right.
And I love it. It's like getting to know people. It's, what are your hobbies? What makes you excited? And every person is different. Like I had someone who he was like this 22-year-old kid, like glasses, totally nerdy. And I was like, oh, he's going to tell me he loves video games, like the typical thing. I go, what do you like to do for fun? He's like, I'm a professional swing dancer. And I went, what? That's crazy. But like that's what made it so fun. And I think I told you, I was like, tell me something interesting about you, this other guy. And he was like, I put ketchup on everything. And I was like, tell me more. I want to know all about it. I'm invested. But so that's been really fun. And then going to set and then, producing the contestants, again, making them feel comfortable and confident before they go to camera. That is the main thing that you want to do as a contestant producer. So
you said that's also very different because in unscripted, you're dealing with kind of, we'll call it real people, right? As opposed to
actors,
having professional actors who are auditioning and they're seasoned.
Seasoned, exactly. So and I think that's maybe why I think making that transition to unscripted was actually quite smooth for me because I knew how to make someone already comfortable in an audition room and making them feel comfortable to go to camera. Easy.
Loved it. I loved it. You're right. Yeah,
it felt so natural to me. It really did. So it's been really rewarding.
That's so cool though. I mean, I love that because what I love about it is it shows that the industry, there's so many different spaces from the reality to, scripted or unscripted. And wow, I have so many more questions.
I know.
Jade, advice for people that because, we've covered so many different things.
Right.
Advice for people getting into the business who are looking for an agent, looking for different, like kind of stuff that you give, because you are super kind. You're just a good person.
So are you. So is everybody here. No, I mean it. It's a great room.
Well, obviously, if you flew all the way from LA to do this.
I did.
I thank you. I know you did.
For you, absolutely.
So now I have to take you around Miami.
But advice.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, because you're in LA, you're seeing it all. You're kind of that moment where everybody, you've done some incredible casting and projects. So how do I get on that journey? Or what's your thoughts?
Like from like am I talking about like actors, like people who want to be actors or people who want to be in the industry, period?
It's a great point. Either or.
Well, I think for me, like we've all been like as someone who has been young and hungry trying to get in the industry. I will say that all the time. Like most of the time, if someone wants to connect me with someone who wants to take me to coffee to go talk about something, I will always say yes. If my schedule allows for it, which I will find time, even if it's months away, I will do it because I still do that. I still ask people to coffee to talk to them. And, I reached out to people on LinkedIn. I reached out to people on Instagram who I have mutual friends with or through the I'm a part of the CSA, the Casting Society of America. If there are people I meet at like the Artios Awards, which are the casting awards, or, at Mixers, CSA Mixers, I'm always trying to learn more and absorb like a sponge. So I always am, trying to connect. I think networking is really important. And so where to begin with that? Like, where do I begin? It's, if you are new, reach out to people who like maybe agents and managers. Say like, hey, like if you want to be an agent, if you want to be a manager, then you would go to them and say, hey, I'm looking to be an agent. I'm looking to be a manager. I want to see if that would work out for me one day. And I had fun story. It's like, this is why how networking all just can be whatever it is. But I had a friend, Stacy, who's a manager, and she's like kind of a new manager. And I had met her a year and a half ago somewhere, like in passing. And then I followed her husband's photography Instagram. And she reached out to me a year and a half later. She's like, "Hi, it's Stacy. I don't know if you remember me." And I was like, "Of course I remember you, Stacy." She's like, "But I'm looking to be a manager, and I don't know where to start, and I feel like you'd be great to talk to." I was like, "Yeah, no problem. I don't know anything about it, but we're happy to chat." And we chatted, and then I connected her with a few of my manager friends who I know, and like those relationships have blossomed. So I just think you never know who you're gonna meet. You're gonna meet, like how I ended up here. Hello, my dad knows someone who knew a friend of you. Like it's like, how did I end up here, right?
That's true.
So it's all just really, I think my advice is network professionally, network in a way that we are all young and hungry, but people, it's all about the company you keep. Like I said, if you know someone's work, like for example, for actors, when they're saying, "How do I find the right agent and manager?" I go, "Well, have you ever watched a show and seen an actor and think, I relate to them?" Check and see who they're rep by. Check and see who represents that person who you resonate with. You resonate with their craft, or you resonate with their look. Check and see who they're rep by, and then go and do your due diligence and research. I think it's all just really, obviously it depends on the person and everything's unique, but I am a huge advocate for educating yourself and networking. Like it's in a professional manner. And I think we all know what that means.
Yes.
Yeah.
It means being at a dinner and looking across and be like, "You're Army?"
Oh,
You're
gosh. That's the best way to network.
That is the best way to network. That is why we are here today.
Honestly,
"You're
yeah.
Army?" "I'm Army."
That was best.
And
That
then
was
the
a
two
very
dads
special
look at
moment.
each other like,
My dad forgot. My dad was like, "Who is this?"
It turned into a separate dinner. There was like an imaginary
Yes.
wall put up.
It was just me, you, and Luke, like blah 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 blah.
I was like, what just
Yeah.
what, you just unlocked something? Both of you are like,
Yes.
your dad and I were like, okay.
Yes.
And now I'm Army.
Yeah, love it.
Love
and
it.
for context, I mean, it was the first time I was meeting.
Yeah, your dad and I were
you,
talking about a project.
and I met you guys, and we were
But
talking
that's like
about.
you said, you
Right,
never know.
You never know.
who
Like
you're gonna
I
meet.
never thought I would. What was this? 2 years ago when I met you guys, or a year and a
Yeah.
half
Yeah,
ago?
2
2 years
years.
ago, that I'd end up here on your like amazing. Like things.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. I never thought I would also ever end up being in reality, and then I did.
Yeah,
Like
no, you just don't know
And
in
I-
this industry.
and it was and luckily it was because I knew, like I interviewed for a thing, and then I knew someone who knew someone who knew who was hiring, and like
And
it
that goes back to the
goes
reputation,
back to
knowing
people. It's-
100%.
So it's all about the company you keep, and
Yes.
always trying to put your best foot forward, and always trying to learn more. Like I can't sit here and say I'm the best casting director. No, I am always going to be learning. We're always going to be progressing and always absorbing like a sponge, as my dad says. So yeah, definitely.
I do want to say how important casting is, because I don't think people realize that. There are a lot of times I walk out of movies and I'm like, that was cast phenomenally.
Oh,
like, I mean, I'm
yeah.
sure you notice it when you
Yes.
go and see stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, that person was meant to be that character. Or you can go see something and think,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I can think off the top of my head 5 other people who
Yeah.
would have been better fit for that role. So good casting really brings a project to life for
Thank
sure.
you. I appreciate you saying that, because I don't think I don't
You guys
think
don't get enough
get
credit.
enough credit. But I love that, because I think casting is it's a wonderful industry. It's a very niche industry, but it is one that people don't understand. Like it's because, like I said, you can't study it. If you want to be a director, you go to school for film directing or TV direct, or you go to film school. If you want to be a writer, you take a TV writing class. And casting, I think it's very rare that they have casting programs in colleges.
Or it's
So-
like, this is how you run
so
the camera. And that's
I
about it.
appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
And it's funny you say that about the directing side too, because I feel that the directing term is so overused and so wide. I feel like it's a mile wide and an inch deep. But the reality of it is, a director is, if you think, because people are like, what does a director do? I'm like, have you ever seen a symphony and you have the
The conductor.
conductor?
Yeah.
That's so, yes, you have different skill sets. So you'll see some directors, as Jade is saying, which are camera. They have no ability to deal with the actors. And I've seen them like, so if you don't have great casting and great acting, some directors are previous actors or actors, and I'm like, I'm going to get the best performance. And that's you see that you get that magic, and then they're working great. So that's why I think, as a casting director, knowing what you've got is critical as well, because it really is about making the moment, the people. We don't watch, even with shows that are voiceover.
Right.
You have to have good and
Yeah. I could never with my Valley Girl accent. I could never do a voiceover.
Do we have a Valley Girl?
Valley Girl. No, but it's so true. It's very true. There's no person on production is the most important, in my opinion. If lights are out, you don't have lights. You don't have lights. If even if like Crafty's out, you don't have food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every role.
If you don't have your accountant
critical.
there, you don't get paid. Okay. Everyone plays such a vital part in production. It is such a labor of love. So I mean, it's everyone. It's nice to be a part of it.
It's funny you say
nice to be a part
that.
of it.
It's because so many people always are asking, being in the, we'll call it director role or whatever. Everybody's like, what camera? And I laugh and I'm like, okay, first you have to, have the best talent. You have to have a great storyline. Then you got to start. And it's funny you said that about if there's no lighting. Lighting. That's the word photography is a derivative from. So you got to have great lighting. So talent, lighting, this.
Sound.
Then I was just about to say.
So talk about like
sound is critical. It's 50% of it.
Critical.
It's like you can't listen. It may be beautiful, but if it's you can't hear it, you're like, I'm off. So the camera's like somewhere else, and this is somebody who's a techie and a camera
totally.
geek.
That's why I say talk about like you saying that no one credits casting. Like I don't think a lot of like the it's a lot of glitz and glamour Hollywood. So it's like PAs are so important too. PAs are so important. Writers are so important. Lighting is so important. Cameras, grips. Everyone's costuming, makeup,
design,
hair.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like
Wardrobe,
80s,
great
like
stuff,
everyone is so important.
Set design. We were talking about Barbie earlier. Oh my God.
I want to live at the Barbie Dreamland.
It just it felt. I don't care who you are. You watch that and you went cinematically, art, direction, everything,
feeling,
visually. It was a beautiful movie.
It was visually.
Yeah, that was a perfect movie.
And I'm a big fan of him. I love his acting.
Love. I mean, that movie was talk about good casting.
Yeah.
That's
what I was just about to say.
Who else would you choose than them?
Literally no one. And I even loved too in the movie when Margot Robbie, like her Barbie's
I
like
know,
the girl's crying,
yes.
and they kind of do like they break the fourth wall thing. And we're like, we know that Margot Robbie
should not,
because like she's crying about how she's. Like not pretty. Like we understand that casting Margot Robbie probably wasn't the best choice for this specific scene or whatever.
Right.
Because she's so stunning.
I thought that was so cute.
Yeah.
She's so pretty. But I loved that. It was
and what's funny is speaking of Margot Robbie, so I'm name dropping again, talking about Eric Roberts.
Yes.
He just did film Babylon. Incredible movie.
Love.
Loved it. Obviously, if you're watching this podcast, you love Babylon. If you don't, you're like, I didn't understand. It was horrible because it's a whole movie around the industry, but people didn't get it. Anyway, long story short, Eric and I were talking, he just wrapped, and he was working with Margot on that, and he could not praise her enough. He was like, I've yet to meet her. She'll come on the podcast. Coming up next, Margot Robbie.
Gosh.
No, but it's
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's really cool to hear from other actors who you're friends with and and they're on set and they're like, no, they like she earned that. She deserves it.
She earned it. And my favorite thing about Margot Robbie and Reese Witherspoon is they're both phenomenal actors with their own production company centered around women's stories. My favorite, I admire actors who do a lot for women's stories and stuff like that. So Margot Robbie's incredible. She's also a Cancer.
Oh,
Told you I can tell you people's signs.
Wow.
She's a Cancer queen. I'm also a Cancer, so that's why I said it. No, I had to throw a little astrology in there.
Oh, of course.
But no, I mean she's phenomenal, and that movie was amazing.
She's definitely one of my favorite actresses of my
your
time.
Your generation. For sure.
I really love her. I was I think 12 the first time I saw her in Suicide Squad. I was like, I don't know who she is, but I love her and I think she's phenomenal. I want to see everything she's in.
Yeah.
Like
talk about multifaceted actor.
Right.
And you know what's interesting? I believe I'm correct in this.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe her background was like soaps.
Soaps. She did
And
Australian soap.
Australian
Oh, I'm
soaps and
forgetting
just
what it's called.
hone
It's
it and that's like the working the craft. It's like
Yeah.
teleprompter stuff that I do here. I'm like telling people, I'm like, you're in front of a camera, you're connecting.
Yeah.
Same thing with soaps.
Yeah.
We know they're not the top of the acting game, but it's how
And
you
I don't
work
know.
on your craft.
I'm not familiar with Australian soaps
Well, I'm
either.
just saying
but
in general,
I
you
mean,
guys
she's,
can call me out on
no,
that. I don't know if
I'm
there's
not.
any-
I'm me being my political answer.
Yeah,
I'm not
have to-
familiar with how
right,
Australian
exactly.
soaps
Me,
are.
I'm like,
No, but it's so true. It's so true that like people get their start in so many random things too, and also too to actors like people like I think of like Allison Janney who like didn't get her big break until she was like in her 40s, and then now I believe she won. Was it an Oscar for I, Tonya? Like another Margot Robbie movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Allison Janney, like in her 40s. Like people, their acting career pops when they pop.
Yeah.
You
Michelle
never know.
Yeoh, who is obviously she was established, but then just won her Oscar.
Wow.
And was like, and I love her speech where she was like,
yeah.
you're never too old or you're never like.
No, yeah,
you
no,
know?
that's what's interesting
You're
about
never
this
past
business.
your prime, I think is what she said, which I
Right.
love. I love that.
Actors go through many different things in life, and some of them you hate them, you love them. They go through personal things, but I think as an artist, like Michael Jackson, you up, down. There's so many different things that I think you find out somebody's good, you find out they're bad, you find out different views. But if somebody is an artist and they make you feel, see, I grew up in a many different era, very different era.
Artists make you
and
feel?
artists make you feel. So I can't.
Yeah.
If I don't know you differently, I'm going to look at your content and movies and say,
Right.
It's
I can't
sometimes
take away from.
difficult to separate the
Yes.
art from the artist a lot of times for
Yeah.
people. And I do
Very
this
well
more
said.
with music because
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. I can say whatever I want on here.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
I'm much more, I spend a lot more time focused on music as of right now than acting and keeping up with actors and whatnot and separating
Yeah.
musicians from their music versus them as people can sometimes be hard to do because it's like, I
Right.
love this person. I love what they put out, what they're saying here, but
Right.
them as a person, maybe they haven't done such
Great things.
amazing things, but
I
they're like
hear ya.
a musical genius. Like they pioneered so many methods, and it's like, how do I?
It's
like a
hard.
personal conflict.
Yeah.
It is. That's always hard. But I always I like going to just music because I just love. We could talk about music all day. But
Yeah.
the one thing is like I had like preconceived notions about certain like artists who I didn't really listen to. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to like say
Right,
I
yeah.
hated them. But like I would just like kind of like reading about them in the tabloids or on Twitter, or excuse me, X.
I call it Twitter.
I know.
It's Twitter.
Elon's like, no,
Elon.
Musk.
But and just kind of having this preconceived notion of them and like them as musicians, and then listening to their albums and being like, oh, wonderful. And it's more so of my opinion. They're not bad people.
Yeah.
I think I'm just like, I don't like them. Like,
Right. Yeah,
like I'm
no,
just
but
being
that's
petty and I'm
understood.
like, I don't know. They bug me. And then I listen to their albums and I'm like, wait, this like certain albums got me through really hard times in my life. And so I think that like, again, art moves you and it makes you
And that's
feel
exactly
something.
it. And
so it's
good for
yeah.
No, you're right, and and to give a great out on this, and maybe closing is saying,
Yeah.
like you said, it's 20 years ago we didn't really have social media, 15 years ago, and now we have social media, and people can be commenting on this podcast in 2 seconds. We didn't have that before,
Right.
so now everybody's got their own voice, everybody's got a pulpit, this one person can. But just because what they feel doesn't mean I feel that, and
Right.
like we come full circle to like even like Johnny Depp, who I've always loved. And you heard all this, and then now he won't even go back to Disney. He's like, no, forget it. You wouldn't do this. So you just, one day you're horrible, one day you're great, one day, and it's so the
Yeah.
public opinion, the court of public opinion is something where I, as somebody who's a little older, I don't know. Whether you're a great actor, whether you delivered something really great, I can't take that away from you.
Yeah, I think it's all just it's like it just depends.
It's
on
every
situation.
absolutely.
It just depends on a situation. But I think that again, I like being in the room with someone. Vibe checking is very important.
Yeah. It's so true.
But-
Going back to what we
going back to what we
said.
said, and maybe that will help you close it out too. I don't know, but just
Yeah.
I
Vibe
think
check.
again,
just good.
If you can take anything from anything I've said, is to
Our
just
takeaways.
your takeaways is just one, be professional,
Oh my gosh.
be kind to others, and also be kind to yourself.
Oh
That
my
is
kind to
so
yourself.
important.
Especially as a creative, make sure you're kind to yourself. I have to remind myself that every day.
Creatives are like the
I think
meanest people to themselves ever.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
It
Like
is.
the most critical.
Very critical.
Ever.
I see it and I am it. So just that's what you gotta do.
All right, let's add a
Yeah.
little more to that.
Yeah.
Why do you think, and then we'll close it out. Why is the creative Jade?
Yeah.
I've seen it, and obviously I experience it as well. Obviously, everybody goes through. They strive for perfection a lot. That's always a thing,
Right.
and sometimes you break through it, which is great. That is like the best feeling. It's like I can be satisfied without this having to be absolutely perfect, because you always hold an unrealistic standard for yourself. That's just always going to happen. It's just kind of. I don't even know what I wanted to say with this. It's just kind of, it's something you have to work through. It's just something you kind of have to deal with being
I think
in the industry and being self-aware.
Yeah.
Every actor,
It's just
have
like
to be like you have to remain.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what my friends always say to each other. We just have to remain. Like you just have to be.
That's
you need to
perfect.
let go. Like it's not, and you're not gonna. Every day is not gonna be perfect. You know, every take you do isn't gonna be perfect. Well, perfect doesn't exist, but you know, it's not gonna be what you expect it to be.
It's harder to meet your standards than meeting somebody else's standards.
Yes, yeah. We are our own worst critics. We are. It's just how
100%.
It's just how we were taught genuinely. But I think that's why I always it's again me coming from a place I've always wanted to make people feel comfortable in this industry. I think we need more of that. I think we need more of people being kind and
Yes.
people being more understanding. And of course, yes, it is a job, it is an industry, but I think that it is a business, but doesn't mean we don't have to be unkind and I'm very grateful for all the opportunities I've had. And I've learned a lot and I'm still learning, but I think that everyone is also in that process. Everyone's always learning more. And, that an actor who comes in and is so nervous might be their first time ever auditioning. And I'm not going to judge them for that.
Right. No. Yeah.
How would
Yeah,
I?
you have
know,
to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere. Yes, exactly. So I don't know. That's something that's like my mantra, I think, in casting.
Yeah, it's true. And you said it. I think being kind, because the industry over the years has changed for the better, that aspect, where it's like you said, we're getting to know our talent better. We have more transparency, which is great.
We have more access to knowing them better. Yeah.
And it's wonderful because that allows the light to shine through in people, like you said, and you get to know that. And I love seeing that aspect of it. And being kind, it not forces, but it weeds, like we're saying, it weeds out the people you don't, you're not going to work with the person, like you said, if they're really difficult or whatever. Maybe they're having something on their own, and come back when you can make it enjoyable, because set life, that's what I'd like to say, is it's so fun. When you have a great, and that as a director, you're like, let's all it's just you're creating something that's great and people are going to love, and you're getting paid to do it. It doesn't, how much, I mean, it really is incredible opportunity.
It's fun because you're all delusional. Because
Yeah,
you guys
100%.
are all not delusional, delirious.
Yeah, yeah.
You're delirious.
Both.
You're
Actually,
actually both. I'm a little mix of both because you're working long hours. I mean, I remember my first job being on Empire as a PA sophomore year of college. I was working 11-hour days. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be at school.
Right.
I'm supposed to be.
I'm in school and I'm working 11-hour days.
But like that was so much fun. Like that was my first time learning about it. And it's so true. It's like when you're around great people collaborating, it's nothing's better. So yeah, being kind goes a long way, especially in creative worlds. Wow.
I guess it's time to close it. I don't want to say goodbye.
Oh my God, me either. We
still have
should do
some
this again.
What is this called? Yeah. Oh yeah, you're definitely coming. What is this called? Makali?
Makali, yeah.
Makali.
I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Listen.
It's probably either makali or mekoli.
Makali, yeah.
Like it's one of the two.
I think it's Makali.
Yeah.
Listen. I don't know.
Makali. Exactly.
Whatever it is, it's delicious.
It's wonderful Korean soda.
Yes.
With a little bit of something extra. Well, again, you know what? Thank you so much for being a friend, for flying out here, for being on my podcast with the 3 followers that we have that are going to watch this. And, I love that we can have such an open conversation because I think the industry, like we said, I'm not going to call it walled, but everybody's got a different perspective. And if people could just be honest and open, like you said, and be kind, because I've noticed a lot of people don't share. It's almost like it's my information and blah, blah. And I'm like, and by just getting this message out there, and our conversation, letting people see what goes on with how do I become famous, right? How do I become famous? It's this weird notion. I always say, if that's your goal, no, that's that's where people I think start, and then they learn how hard the business is.
Yeah.
But it, just being part of this, and I thank you for sharing so much from the bottom of your heart.
Yeah.
Really,
Thanks.
No, thank you for having me. I feel very honored to be a part
we're
of
going to
this.
have you back, and we're going to talk about all those roles you did in school and the singing.
No, we're not. But honestly, thank you guys for having me. It was so fun. You guys are amazing. I'm sorry that I can't shut up.
No,
can't
you're
shut up.
supposed to.
That's
You're not
the whole
supposed to.
point of
Right?
it.
Okay, good. I know.
You did wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you both.
Yeah, if we had people pulling stuff out.
Well, thank you.
This was fun.
So fun.
Touched on a lot of topics. Good
Love
stuff.
I know. This was great.
Should we play some K-pop now to as an outro?
Oh, I thought they were doing that. I saw they were pulling this back up, but I saw the music video flash. I was like, is it happening?
Is it happening?
That's how it all started.
That's
all
how
It
it
really
started.
is.
K-pop,
It brings
Korean,
people together.
Makgeolli. We
Brings
are
people together.
fully. I want all of our Korean viewers to watch and comment. And
They're like, you're saying it
I'm
wrong.
getting no. They're like, you said it wrong.
You said Makgeolli wrong, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Exactly. All right. No, I'm being told we have to cut now.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
should cut.
No,
Wrap
cut.
it up.
Yeah, they're like, Dad,
Well,
this
let's
is
do. We usually have the guests do the outro.
Oh yeah, give us an outro. Come on.
Oh my God. Where do I look? Here?
Right there.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much for listening, tuning in. Remember.
Pressure is on.
This is why I told you I'm behind the
It,
camera.
it can just be like a thanks for watching.
Okay.
Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Oh my God, I loved it. I loved
That
it.
was
Now can you have to
beautiful.
do that singing it?
No. No.
Alrighty.
Ready? And now it's musical.
And music.
Cue the music. All right, Luke.
Cue Jimin.
Thank you, everybody.
We need outro
Thank
music.
you.
Like,
Never know who's coming on next. I told you we're only bringing the best. Oh, and Kuma's up here. Yay! Kuma running.
bye.